Yo dude! Welcome, Steve here. Welcome to Teriyaki Tofu with plum sauce and Chinese pancakes. This is epic, a wonderful combination of flavors in that you're getting this kind of tart, sweet plum sauce. You're getting this umami, sweet teriyaki tofu with a lovely kind of glaze on it. And then it's all kind of encrusted in a nice Chinese kind of style pancake. So this is simple. We've simplified the recipe. It's going to take 10 minutes from start to finish, and it's epic. So here we go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a plum sauce from scratch. First thing you're going to need are ripe plums. We have 4 ripe plums. So chop them in half. Just twist. Try to twist over the blender so you don't lose much. And then in quarter, and then just pip them off, because the stone on a plum typically is a little bit tighter and holds on a little bit more than, say, that of a nectarine or peach. Okay, we have 3.5 ripe plums. I did a little bit. The reason why we went ripe is that the sugars are more developed. It's going to end with a sweeter sauce. Next step, 1 white onion, halved. Half a white onion, in it goes. 1 clove of garlic, in it goes. Thumb-sized piece of ginger. I left the skin on because this is organic. In it goes. Now time to add our wet ingredients. Soy sauce or tamari, I'm going in with 3 tablespoons. I'm going to use apple cider vinegar. Use your vinegar of choice. You could use rice vinegar, rice wine vinegar. Apple I tend to like, we make our own at home sometimes. So I've gone with 2 tablespoons. And then for the lovely sweetness, we're going to go with maple syrup, but go with liquid sweetener of choice, 5 tablespoons. Okay, time to add our spices. So we started off there with a pinch of salt. Next step, we're going with allspice. So I'm going to go with about a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. That's going to bring in our nutmeg and our clove note. So it's kind of a bit different, but I think it goes fabulous. Next step, some cinnamon. I'm going to go with 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. That's just ground cinnamon. Worth having all the spices for this, just to give all the flavor notes. 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And last and final one, which I love most. Leave out if you don't. Fennel is something that people love or hate, but it just adds that subtlety and a nice kind of undercarriage of flavor. I'm going to go with about a 3/4 tablespoon of fennel seed. You could use ground fennel if you don't have fennel seed. Lid on. And blendy blendy. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so just blend until smooth. Oh wow, it smells deadly. Nice bang of nutmeg off it. We have a pan. We're going to put it on high heat, and in it goes. So we're going to leave this just to reduce, and as it reduces, its color is going to change and it's become a lot darker. And it's just going to, the flavors are become more soft. That raw onion, raw garlic note are going to disappear, and it's just going to become more round, more sweet, and more delicious. So I've given a blender jug a rinse, and now it's time to make our teriyaki sauce. I'm going to make a simplified version, but I'm also going to make it a little bit more spicy and a little bit more interesting. 1 clove of garlic. In it goes into our blender jug. Again, I'm going to go with ginger, nice base flavor. I'm going to go with, again, around a thumbnail size piece, slightly bigger. I have a big thumbnail, so I like a fair, generous amount. Chilli! I'm going to go with 1/2 a red chilli. Lemongrass, typically not in a teriyaki sauce, nor is chili, but again, I just want to make this a little bit simpler. Go with 1/2 a lemongrass stalk. Just chop it in half, just to make it a little bit easier in your blender. If you do have a high-speed blender like this, it's going to whiz it up totally and no bother, but if you don't, you got to chop it finer to start with. Time to add in our umami notes. I'm going to go with 5 tablespoons of tamari. I'm going to go with 3.5 tablespoons of maple syrup, or liquid sweetener of choice. And I have 3 tablespoons of water. 3. Lid on and just blend until it's smooth. Okay, boom. That's nice and viscous, very nice and runny. Let's pour out our teriyaki sauce so it's kind of ready to go. Just scraped in the sides because some of the bits will have jumped up. And don't worry if there are kind of larger particle sizes. We're going to just cook them through once we cook our tofu. Okay, plum sauce is ready. Looks great, color has changed. Beautiful, rich colors, real plummy looking. And as that cools, that'll also thicken a little bit more. Last step with our blender, we're gonna make our Chinese pancakes. As I mentioned earlier, we're gonna make these a little bit easier. Typically, you'd actually need them and develop gluten. We're gonna skip that and we're gonna cheat it by using a flaxseed. So grab an 8-ounce cup. We're gonna put 1 8-ounce of plain flour. There it goes. I've 1 8-ounce, the same 8-ounce mug just full of water. I'm gonna put a little bit more, so it'd be like 8 ounces and a quarter. So which would make 10 ounces. That goes. Because we're gonna make it more of a crepe style. I have a teaspoon. I'm gonna go with 2 heaped teaspoons of ground flax seeds. That's gonna function as the binder that's gonna help hold it together and to save us having to knead it to develop gluten. Last thing, often in a Chinese pancake, there's a little bit of sesame oil. I'm gonna add it just to add that extra note. Lid on, and let's whizzy whizzy. Okay, you'll see it's quite runny now. Don't be alarmed. We're gonna leave that sit. While that sits, I'm gonna make my tofu, but while that sits, the flax seeds are gonna coagulate and actually bind it together a lot more. Okay, time to make our tofu. Tofu, we've 250 grams of tofu, which we have pressed. So pressing it, you might think weird. We've used our 3 bucks to press it. They make a great press. But through pressing, what happens is that you're squeezing a lot of the water. So you'll see a huge amount of water has come out. And what happens is it makes it easier to sear our tofu and seal it and get more browning because the moisture has to evaporate. So I have our 250 gram block. I'm gonna chop it into half. Okay, let's get our pan really, really nice and hot. Okay, it's worth waiting for your pan to get hot because we do want that, that initial sizzle. I'm gonna go with 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, pan's hot. First stage, what we wanna do is we wanna sear the tofu, which means create a nice browning on both sides. So, oh. Okay, so we have been doing quite a lot of oil-free dishes, and you'll note I did use oil in there. So if you are trying to make this oil-free, just bake it. And you can cook the tofu without oil as well. Again, just the key is getting the pan super hot. Tofu's seared, so both sides are nice and brown, you see that? So I'm gonna take it out, and now we're gonna cut it up. So I want to cut it up into kind of slices, and so that we'll get the flavor right inside the middle. So just cut it up into kind of really, I'm cutting slightly from an angle, so I want a little bit of a texture to it. We're going to put it back in the pan. This is where it gets fun. Time to take our teriyaki sauce. Just give it a bit of a stir because there will be some bits, and let's get half it in there first. Just move that around. That sizzle is just fabulous. Ah! Let's give it a quick turn. Oh, lovely. Oh, look at that brown crusty bit. That's just flavor. Okay, mix up the last of our tofu or our teriyaki sauce, and let's just pour it in. Try to find any bits that are more white and just get it on. Make sure to get it on them. In essence, we're just adding flavor. Okay, I'm going to turn that off its heat. Let's remove our tofu. I'm dying to eat this now. That smells amazing. Okay, I've got Pak Choi. I've got a whole head of Pak Choi. I'm taking half of it. I'm just going to cut some of the chunks out of this a little bit, just so it's a little bit lighter. We're going to get that into the pan quick. While there's still residual heat in the pan. And there's still that flavor in the pan. So you'll see there's a lot of sauce, it's a bit sticky, frying Pak Choi is a bit weird. I'm taking a cup of water and I'm just gonna put in, that's gonna help deglaze that flavor, and it's gonna help steam, create a steaming action to cook the Pak Choi. You see all this? This is deglazing what's happening here. This wonderful flavor is coming off. And if it does start to evaporate too much, just put a little more in. I'm going to leave that Pak Choi now. I did have to turn the heat on because there wasn't enough residual heat, but I'm going to just put it to the side and leave that. There's going to be a lot of residual heat in this pan. This is a cast iron pan, so that's going to continue to cook. I'm going to turn it off the heat and just move it to the side. I'll put a little bit of sesame seeds in the top right now. Okay, time to make our pancakes. Cake cooked in a pan. This is a very simple pancake now, very basic, but Every other component of the dish is banging full of flavour, so we want this more just subtle and just the residual starch. So here's our batter. You see it's thickened up quite significantly. I'm gonna add a generous pinch of salt in there before I cook it. There goes our little bit of oil. Turn the heat down to medium heat. Let's add in our batter. We want to make this more like a crepe than a pancake. We want to make it thin, so I'm going to put in kind of on the lower side of batter. Okay, pancakes are done. I just did 3 with that batter. You're probably gonna get 6 pancakes. So I've done them very thin, and again, I did put that little bit of oil just to get a little bit more browning. Time to pimp these fellas up. Okay, we got our homemade plum sauce. Go with a generous serving. So this is gonna bring sweetness, tartness, and that kind of nice spice to it. Next step, we have some greens. I've chopped some scallions, just kind of real thin. We call them scallions, I think. In England, you call them spring onions. I've got some battened carrots. They're gonna add crunch. A little bit of Pak Choi. Get a bit of that in there. Okay, time to add our tofu. Those chunks of just deliciousness. You'd be looking at it going, what's that for? That's the fibre from the ginger and the lemongrass. And it just adds this amazing texture to it. Last and final note, a little bit of chili, a little bit of sesame. Voila. That looks epic, doesn't it? The moment I've been waiting for. This is epic, delicious. It took us about 20 minutes in all reality to take from start to finish. Might take you a little more, but this is magnificent. Here we go. Gonna be a lot of flavor coming at us. I'm gonna use my hand. Oh yes, give me more green. Okay, here we go. Like the word foodgasm comes from my mind, like I'm hit with sweet, I'm hit with tart, I'm here with spicy, I'm here with tangy, I'm here with zingy, and I'm hitting with that kind of just the bitterness from the Pak Choi green. Like that is epic. Really magnificent, delicious, fabulous. I want to eat that every day. That's so tasty. And the pancake's lovely and soft. Absolutely epic. Really couldn't recommend you making this more. I'm surprised at even how phenomenally, I knew it was going to be tasty, but I didn't think it was going to be that tasty. Amazing. Anyway, dudes, thank you for subscribing. Please share this video with anyone you think who is in need of some kind of inspiration. Thanks for watching and send a loads of love.